facility around the ground that may clash with CPL's sponsors and partners. The 5 games will instead be played at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Tarouba from August 27 to September 3. And joining us via Zoom to put things into context is Club President Dr. Nigel Camacho. Dr. Camacho, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. It's a pleasure to have you. So sorry we couldn't link yesterday, but no better time than now. So what seems to be the issue here? No CPL games at Queen's Park Oval. You speak with some individuals and they say, well, it's not really a big deal. I don't see what the fuss is all about. You speak with others and they seem to think it's a big deal. How should we be reading into this development?
Hi, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate having me here this afternoon. It is a big deal for us, you know. I think, you know, at the Queen's Park Oval, we're proud of our history and our heritage and everything that has and the legacy and everything that has transpired over the years. And I think, you know, for cricket in the Caribbean, for cricket in the West Indies, the Queen's Park Oval has played a huge role in its cricket history. And as such, with the advent of the changes that have occurred over the last 20 years in cricket in the Caribbean, in the West Indies, I think it's nice to hold on to some part of the history. So for us, you know, having games at the Oval and the atmosphere that's created at the Queen's Park Oval is very special, you know. We'd like to be able to continue to maintain that and have the CPL games played at the Queen's Park Oval. We knew when the stadium was built at Tarouba that there was going to be issues with different stadiums, and that was a modern stadium and everything like that. But you know, we really hope that things could coexist in Trinidad. But we understand modern economics and everything that takes place, and we understand the challenges. You already alluded to the fact that, you know, we do face a challenge with having the unavailability of the type of corporate boxes that some of the CPL organizers would like to have. And hopefully we're going to make some changes in the upcoming years to make that available for them. And also the signage is an issue because the Oval has so much corporate presence from the number of booth holders that actually lease corporate booths at the Oval. You know, there is a lot of physical signage, and we're hoping that we're going to make that transition where those signs can become digitized and present a clean stadium for future events. It's not only for CPL, it's for ITC events as well. You know, that was the case ever since 2007. You know, when there was a requirement of clean stadiums across the Caribbean, and so we've known this for a number of years. And now that it's coming to a fore, we are making hopefully the necessary changes to make those things happen.
Yeah, fair enough. And I hear about all those issues. I do want to ask you, though, because I've been thinking about this quite a bit for the last 24 hours. How does the cost of renting the facility at Queen's Park Oval compare to the cost of renting the facility at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy?
So you asked a superb question there, you know, because you know, ever since our historic World Cup in 2007, you know, the legacy coming out of the 2007 World Cup was an increase in the number of venues across the Caribbean. And what happened was, traditionally in the first perhaps 80 years of cricket in the Caribbean, the venues there were 4 or 5 venues across the Caribbean that were traditionally Sabina, Queen's Park, Kensington, Border, and the Antigua Recreation Ground. With the changes that occurred in 2007, a lot of the stadiums across the Caribbean that were introduced for the World Cup, so they became government-funded stadiums. So as a result, there's a lot of government funding. Queen's Park Cricket Club runs the Queen's Park Oval. We are not a government entity. We are a private cricket club that has been around for 130 years associated with cricket. So the costing is perhaps a little bit more than the government-funded stadiums, but you know, we have bent backwards over the last 10 years to try and make it available for the organizers, because we understand you know, the requirements of expenses and everything that the CPL organizers would be looking at. So yes, you know, in terms of cost comparison, we still don't know actually the actual cost of what the government charges the CPL to rent out the Taruba facility in the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Taruba. But certainly, we've tried to make our costs as attractive as possible because we understand what we're up against,
Yeah. Would it be fair to say then, Mr. Camacho, that the higher cost of renting the venue at Queen's Park Oval has impacted or might have impacted the decision not to have the venue host matches this year?
Certainly it is a factor. I think what they've indicated is that the tournament this year is a bit truncated. So they have made it a bit shorter, and there's a lot more, it's in a shorter space of time. So expenses have always been an issue for the CPL organizers, and understandably so. It's a business they're running. So, from that perspective, it may have played a role. I think when I talk to the principals at TKR, what they, particularly the CEO at TKR, Mr. Maiso, what he has indicated that the bigger factors have been the clean stadium factor and the availability of corporate boxes for them to be able to lease out to corporates for coming to view the games. So those perhaps weigh a little bit heavier than the actual cost of the stadium itself, because I don't think that would have been a key role in their final decision as to where to have the games. But because the games actually, I think it's in the space of a week in Trinidad, and what they indicated to us at Queen's Park Cricket Club, that the idea of moving the equipment back and forth is going to be a little bit costly, and they took that into consideration.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that because I saw that explanation given in a Trinidad and Tobago newspaper, and I just wanted to know if that is an explanation that you accept, that the matches could not be shared because of how closely they are this time around.
Well, it's not one that, I would say I accept, because, we are deeply disappointed at this development, because we certainly do look forward. We have looked forward to hosting the CPL over the last 10 years at the Queen's Park Oval, because of the electric atmosphere and also, providing the entertainment for the people in North Trinidad. So, I think we are certainly blessed with geographic position in Trinidad and Tobago, where we are situated in Port of Spain, is an ideal location. The disadvantage that Taruba has as compared to us is actually getting in and out of the stadium in Taruba. So that is an issue. So we were hoping that we would coexist with and we hope that the authorities in the future, and they indicated they will look at the fact that, having two venues in Trinidad and Tobago is really an advantage for the country. Dr. Shallow spoke at our Christmas dinner last year, and he indicated that, he thought that it is really advantageous for Trinidad and Tobago to have two cricket venues. It makes it attractive for entities like Cricket West Indies and stuff to host, chunks of tours in Trinidad and Tobago because they're two different venues. And I'm hoping that, over time, this will make more sense to the organizers, and that, they will see the value of having games in both the North and South. We have certainly begun the process at the Queen's Park Oval of making changes that fit into the modern scheme of things. We've introduced Wi-Fi 7 at the Queen's Park Cricket Club, which makes broadcasting a lot easier, because streaming and other such things would given the modern technology at the club. So we're certainly not going to sit back and just, say, all right, this is what it is. We're certainly going to make the efforts and make the changes required, given our constraints as a private members club. Still, we are deeply revered in the Caribbean as one of the more iconic venues in the West Indies. And as such, we're going to continue to do what we have to do to make the Queen's Park Oval as attractive to promoters as possible. And we expect that certainly in the future, we will be having more CPL games at the Queen's Park Oval.
Well, Dr. Camacho, how will the Queen's Park Cricket Club losing the CPL affect your bottom line this financial year?
Uh, Not significantly. It's more of a blow in terms of bottom line. We haven't, based on what I told, I said earlier, because we have brought the price down so much in terms of the rental, we have looked at it, from a reality perspective, where we were going to be breaking even each year, trying, at the cost that in terms of the preparation, because again, we don't have government funding. All our funding for the preparation of the outfield and the wicket and everything else in the facility to be prepared to host international games comes from the club's coffers. So in terms of what we looked at is just the expenses of actually putting on the game, putting on the lights, etc. There are certain costs that are incurred doing such. But we also realize this is not a money-making venture for us in terms of hosting CPL games. The bigger blow to us is really the disappointment of the spectators in the north of the island and our corporate box holders, because they look forward to hosting the presence of corporate boxes in the Queen's Park Oval is significant, because I think most of the major corporations that do business in the Caribbean actually have a physical presence at the Queen's Park Oval. And they certainly look forward to entertaining their customers and their clients and their friends at their boxes. And they look forward to the CPL games, particularly more so. Unfortunately, there's a waning interest in West Indies cricket, and that's a whole different topic. So certainly for us, we are certainly disappointed by not having CPL games at the club this year. But we're certainly going to do what we have to do to ensure that in the future that will change. Because, I think we have a very receptive audience. People are interested in seeing the Queen's Park Oval continue. And I know business is not based on nostalgia. And I understand that. I'm comfortable with that. But at the same time, I think, people in the Caribbean are proud of its history. And I think we are proud of our West Indies cricket history. And there's been such a significant impact on the landscape of whatever has shaped us in the Caribbean through cricket at the Queen's Park Oval, at Kensington, at Sabina, that we would love to see it continue to play a role in hosting major cricket matches in the Caribbean.
Yeah, Dr. Camacho, we're fast running out of time, but I have to get to this one because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about this big picture now, not just about the CPL, but generally about international matches being hosted at the Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. And if you're not going to be getting CPL matches and international matches with the regularity that you've been accustomed to over the years, so we're talking about revenue loss there in terms of rental, but the potential as well to lose some of those branding sponsors, because if it is that you're not going to be hosting these international matches where you have the biggest audiences, then why then should many of these corporations remain with the Queen's Park Oval? And it's very much something I noticed when I visited the venue for the first time earlier this year, the level of branding that is there. But from my standpoint, I am now a little bit concerned if that will remain if you're not getting international matches with the frequency that you once did.
Yeah, no, it's funny you ask that question. And, if we look at the facts from last year was the most international cricket played at the Queen's Park Oval in its 134-year history, okay, which is significant. So, we hosted a number of international cricket. Next year, we've been given the assurance of 2 test matches to be hosted at the Queen's Park Oval, which includes a West Indies match against Sri Lanka and a West Indies women's match against Australia. So yes, from that standpoint, I'm a bit worried about that, but we're also, because of our beautiful location in Port of Spain, we are hosting a number of other events, not related to cricket, but entertainment in terms of concerts and religious events at the club that are hugely significant and impactful on the people of Port of Spain and Trinidad and Tobago. So we are making the necessary changes, and also, we are doing some other areas of revenue generation where we think we can be very impactful. We are creating a virtual museum in our physical museum at the Queen's Park Oval, and that's going to have a huge impact, and it's going to hugely impact West Indies cricket as well, because that plays a significant role in sustaining, living the legacy of what West Indies cricket has been ever since inception in 1926, 1928. So from that standpoint, I am not as worried as you are, because I think we are making the necessary changes and adapting to the modern environment. COVID certainly was a game changer for us. It made us sit back and really dig deep and realize, the modern situation as it plays out is not the same as it was 50 years ago, not even 20 years ago. So we are going to make the necessary changes to continue to make the Queen's Park Oval an iconic location for hopefully international cricket, yes, but for many other things as well. So from that perspective, I think we're taking the necessary and right steps to ensure the viability and sustainability of the Queen's Park Oval in the future to come.
Dr. Camacho, I was going to reference that point because you came into power in the middle of COVID or at the back end of COVID in 2021. How difficult has the process been to lead the cricket club during this time? And I think there is an election to be had at the end of this year.
Sure.
Are you confident of being returned as president as well?
It's up to the members. It's an open and free election held every 2 years. It was a difficult and many hard decisions had to be made during COVID. There were 24 months well, it was not only us. I think the entire world grounded to an halt during the COVID period. But I am proud of the fact that the management committee team at the Queen's Park Cricket Club was able to withstand a very, very tough period that came, and we made the necessary, some tough choices. We made some changes that we had to make. And also, as I alluded to earlier, it gave us a self-realization of what necessary changes we needed to make to remain viable and sustainable. So whether the members choose for me to continue, if I make myself available at the end of the year, then I'm prepared to continue to serve, because I think we have set some things into motion, into place, and I'm confident that there are going to be some beautifully exciting things for the club over the next 12 to 24 months. And I'm hoping that the team that I've put together will continue to work hard in making sure these things come to reality.
Yeah, sounds somewhat like an election speech. By the way, Dr. Camacho, do you have tennis courts at the yeah?
Yes.
Once you keep those, tell you what, I'm going to apply for membership. And don't worry about it. Next time I'm there, I'm going to stop by and get some tennis done. Dr. Nigel Camacho, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and all the best. Take care.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Thanks for everything, guys.
All right. Yeah. Lance, are you applying for membership as well?
Well, I haven't been to Trinidad and Tobago in about 7 years now, so I'm due a visit. I just want to say, though, apart from the iconic status of the Queen's Park Oval, one of the things that the venue has going for it, it's its seating capacity, which far exceeds that of the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. So the attractiveness of West Indies cricket can impact significantly on Queen's Park Oval and what it has to offer. Because I think the capacity seating there's about 25,000 compared to Brian Lara 15,000. So if West Indies cricket's attractiveness had been or is or can resuscitate itself to what it had been many years ago, then the fact that they can hold so many spectators would be a plus in itself, apart from its iconic status over the Brian Lara Academy.
Yeah, the producer is going to kill us. We've gone about 10 minutes over time. Let's go to a break. We'll go back.